Hi and welcome to the Woolly Pig podcast. My name is Ida and this is a podcast about knitting. Today is a very, 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 very hot day. So if I look hot and sweaty, that's because I am hot and sweaty. It's really warm and we don't have AC. I don't really think any countries in Europe have air conditioning. So when it's warm, it just gets really, really warm. And it's only a little past 10 in the morning and it's very hot. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. I just said it. It is hot. I like warm weather. I just don't want it to be too warm. Anyway, I have 2 finished objects to show you today, and then I have 2 works in progress to talk about. I am actually working on one of the works in progress right now. I don't know if I said that. I live in Denmark with my husband and our kids, and yeah, I've been doing podcasting for a long time now. I just also was thinking about how long I've been knitting, and I think it's close to 15 years now, so it's been a while. Anyway, like I said, 2 finished objects. I have a hat and then I have a t-shirt, and I plan to wear the t-shirt today, but it's just too warm. So I'm gonna show it to you. I have it on a hanger here. I finished the Lacy Loop Cardigan by Other Loops, and I'm gonna show it to you now. It's right here. You can see it. Here's the front and here's the back. I am really happy with this knit. I like the fit of it. It is oversized, it's a little cropped, it has wide sleeves, and it is knitted in a plant-based fiber. I did talk about knitting in plant-based fibers in the last podcast. And I have been wearing this a couple of times already, and it is holding up quite well, as you can see. I knit this with Drops Bell, which is a yarn that I have not worked with before. I enjoyed working with it. It was fine. It is plant-based, so obviously it has the quality of a plant-based fiber, which means it's less elastic than knitting with wool, and it can also feel, for me at least, a little drier in the hand and just a little more rough. But I still enjoyed it, and I think it doesn't really have anything particular to do with the brand or anything. It's just the nature of a plant-based fiber. It is, as far as I remember, it's 53% cotton, around 50% cotton. Then it's viscose and bamboo, maybe. I don't know. It's a blend of 3 different fibers. Yeah, and I enjoyed it. I also like wearing it. It's not super soft, but also not scratchy. And I am curious to see how it's gonna hold up in the long run. The yarn is very affordable, and it's not affordable yarn doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad yarn. So just curious to see how it's gonna do. Even though it's a cheap yarn, it could be a really good yarn that holds up over time, but I of course won't know until I worn this for at least a year or so. I had, I think, 6 balls of yarn. I knit the body, and then I initially planned on just doing, I wasn't sure I would have enough yarn to knit the full length sleeves. So my initial thoughts was just make a sleeve that basically ended here, where you see the first ridge of garter stitch right here. I then ended up finding 2 more skeins down in the basement in my stash. It did not have any label on them, but it looked very, very similar, and I was quite sure that it was the same yarn. And I still think it's the same yarn, but it's definitely a different colorway because it just has a different shade. Well, not the shade, but it's just, there is a color change here. Maybe not very noticeable at all, and especially with because I used it just for the sleeves, you won't really tell, or you can't really tell as clearly, just because there is a overgang. Why can't I remember that word? I'm gonna put the right word in English here, but there is an overgang, which is the Danish word, between the body and the sleeves, so it kind of hides the difference anyway, and you don't really notice it. Yeah, and some modifications. I did make the sleeves shorter, I believe, than the pattern. I think the pattern has one more repeat on here. I'm actually not sure because I haven't looked, but I do think they look bigger in the pattern. I also think my sleeves are a little bit more narrow than in the pattern, which I like. And I also made the body more cropped. I talked about that in the last podcast as well, how I ended up ripping back and doing a bit knitting back and forth to make it fit. So I'm not going to talk about that here. What else? I added buttons, as you can see. I found these at my mom's. She has so many. She has a huge craft room, and she has a lot of buttons, yarns, fabrics, you name it. Like, it's a little treasure of crafty things. But she had the buttons, and I just really like these with the yarn. I think they go together so well. They are kind of, depending on the light, they shift a bit in the light, but they are black with a bit of green and brown in there. And yeah, they fit the pattern, or the yarn quite nice. I ended up sewing or seaming the button band together. Here I did it both here and here, and for the rest of it I just seamed it all the way down here just with a black piece of thread, because when I put it on, the what's it called, the area between the buttons, they were gaping a bit, and I didn't like that. And when I initially cast this one on, my plan was to wear it as a t-shirt. I did not plan on wearing it open at all, so I thought, why not just close it up straight away, and I won't have to be bothered about the bottom band gaping in certain places. So yeah, I don't think there's anything else to say, because I don't really want to repeat myself from the last podcast. I also talked a bit about the pattern, which was easy in some places. I found it difficult at the bottom band. I'm not going to get into that again. I figured it out, and I'm really, really happy with this one. So now I have two summer knits that I like and that I wear. I will say my Fern Tee has grown an insane amount. It is very, very, very big. I think it has grown maybe 10 centimeters, and I'm not exaggerating. It's just been like growing and growing and growing when I've been wearing it. So I was talking to my knitting group about what to do, and some of them suggested to put it in the dryer, which I may try to do. But I think I'm going to do that anyway, just to get it to sort of shrink up a little bit. And I also think I'm going to rip back a large amount and then do the I-cord bind off once more, because it's too big. I don't like the way it fits now. It's just huge. It's a tent, and it was big and oversized when I finished it, but it was cropped, and I like that look. So kind of oversized but cropped, so it wasn't like, it didn't overwhelm my body, which I kind of feel like it does now. So I need to go in and fix that soon, because I think if I don't do it soon, I'm afraid I won't do it. And I did use a lot of time on that Fern Tee, and I'm really happy with it. So that is something that I want to plan on doing on this summer holiday. The kids are going on summer holiday today, so we are in summer mode soon. Yeah, so that was the Lacy Loop Cardigan by Other Loops. Let's see if I'm still recording. I am. So another thing that I have cast on and finished since my last podcast is a hat, which is this one here. This is the Chalet Hat by Soho. Yes, it's a free pattern on Soho, and it is just a simple, what's it called? Ribbed hat. 1x1 ribbing, knit on big needles in chunky yarn. I have used 2 strands of Pickles Cozy, which was like a leftover I had down in the basement in my yarn stash, and it worked out perfectly. It's a really lovely soft blow yarn, and yeah, so it made the knitting of this one quite fast. It is a gift for, so my son, he is in his last year of Bernaheu, and next year he will start school. And I wanted to have gifts for the teachers next year when he is done with school. And I know there's a long time until, thankfully, there's a long time until he starts school, but so it's a year before he starts school. But I wanted to have little knitted gifts for the teachers there. It's a place where they are, the Bernaheu is a place where they are outside a lot. So the adults in the Bernaheu are also outside a lot. So I thought knitting them little warm accessories would be a nice thing to do, but I wanted to make sure that I had time to do it. I wanted it to be a joyful experience for me, so that I, basically I did not want to end up knitting 5 accessories for them in a month, because I was stressed and I needed to do it before he finished or anything. So I decided to start now, and then I'll do a project every so often. And so once we are back in May of next year, we have them all ready for them, and they can have them at that point. I'm not knitting I've decided to just knit 5 things. So they're like 5 main adorns in his Bernaheu that have been there for a long time, and hopefully will be there until he's done as well. And I'm just gonna knit. I have found a few patterns. I found a cowl, some hats, and also some fingerless mittens. Excuse me, fluff in my mouth. And I'll just put them into like one big box for them, and then they can decide between them who wants what, or maybe they just want to keep them in Bernaheu as like an extra backup clothing for them if they forget a hat or something, and they can share them. They can decide, but that's my plan. All the patterns I'm gonna use, I think, are gonna be Pearl Soho patterns. They have a ton of free patterns, and they have a ton of like patterns that are knit in chunkier weight, and I want to use chunkier weight just because it goes faster, because it's warmer, and also so that I can use more yarn. So I'm holding more strands together to get rid of some of all that stash yarn that I have laying around. So yeah, I'm not gonna put this on, but it's nice and kind of tight fitting, but you also kind of want that when you're out with the kids and it's windy or whatever. So that one is done. I'm gonna go in a box, and I'm gonna save it there for them, together with whatever else I'm gonna knit. Okay, so those are my 2 finished objects, and then I have 2 works in progress. I'm gonna start out with the really hot one that I have been cast on. So Petite Knit had a pattern sale for her 10-year anniversary, and I went a little crazy and got a lot of the patterns that I've been looking at for years but just haven't bought, and I thought, okay, now's the time to get those patterns. And one of the patterns that I got is the henna v-neck sweater, and that's what I've cast on. And I just joined for the body, so I've knitted the top part, as you can see. Can you see? Yes, you can see. Here it is. So like I said, this is the henna v-neck. I have knitted front back, joined for the body, and obviously need to knit the body, the sleeves, and the neck hold here, the neckband. The neckband is, as you can see, a V-neck, like what the pattern says basically. But it is a more tight fitted V-neck, and I really like that look. I'm not really a fan of those wide V-necks, just because I don't think I would know how to style that. You would see, if you had like a t-shirt under, you could see it. Yeah, and I don't know, because I haven't really, I've never owned a wider V-neck, so maybe I would love it, but that's just what I imagine I would struggle with if I knit like a wider V-neck. But this one is tighter, and it's quite chunky and wide. It has a double ribbing, and I just really like the look of that. I also have been looking, as you do, or at least as I do, going through the hashtag to just find the sweater in different body types, and it looks good on many different body types. I would say petite knit usually makes quite well-fitting patterns for all sizes, so I'm not particularly worried about this not fitting me, but still it's just nice to see how it sits on different body types, which is really, if like a tip, I've said this before, if you want to knit a sweater, go and find it on Instagram, do the hashtag search for that particular thing that you want to see, and just scroll through and see what that sweater looks like on different bodies. I know you can also use Ravelry, but for me it's just easier to go on Instagram and do it than having to log into Ravelry. I can never remember my login, and yeah, so I just prefer doing it on Instagram. There are less sort of clicks that you need to do to look at it on Instagram. That's just my opinion. So yeah, cast it on. Used a yarn that I bought in Berlin, Mota by Wool Dreamers. Really enjoy knitting with this yarn. It's lofty, and I don't even know if it's lofty. It's just because I've been knitting a lot with plant-based fibers, so getting like a woolly yarn in my hands is just lovely, and sort of the elasticity and yeah, everything about knitting with the yarn has just been really enjoyable. There are bits of dirt, or like different kind of basically things from the sheep in the yarn, not the wool, but like, you know, vegetation matter and things like that. See here, which I find quite cozy, that you find that every so often while you're knitting. And yeah, I'm really excited about this, but also it's too warm. I know I keep talking about, I'm sorry, I'm from Denmark, we talk about the weather all the time. I try not to talk about it, but it is too warm to work on this in this weather. So I have another knit that I am working on instead. So I don't know if there's anything else. Oh, here's the yarn. You can see it here. And do I have the label? I do have the label here. Here's the label. I have 6 balls. There are 100-gram balls. I hope it's enough yarn. It should be enough for a legs pullover, and you know, it should be enough. But if you followed me for a while, you know I sometimes underestimate the amount of yarn that I need for certain projects. So yeah, fingers crossed, I guess. Okay, so the last project that I have just recently cast on is a Western crop t-shirt. I think, let me just see, I have the pattern right here. Crop Weston Tee. Let's see here. This is the book. Can you see it? Here. Right here. So I'm gonna find another picture of it. So it's just a basic t-shirt with a wide neck. It has a little sort of not tight sleeves, but narrow sleeves, and a wider body. very basic, but also very wearable. So I thought that would be a good project for me. The designer is Ida Virak Tredevik, which is a Norwegian designer. And I borrowed this book at the library. I actually also bought, she has 2 knitting books, and I bought the other one too, and there are a lot of nice patterns in here. I don't know if she is doing as much designing anymore as she usually did, or maybe I just haven't seen her because the algorithm is doing its own thing, as you probably know if you're on Instagram. But yeah, anyway, I decided to cast this on using the yarn that I originally bought for something else, which is Line from Sandnes Garn. I planned on using this for a Maggie vest that I would use as a top, again a petite knit pattern. But then I saw that pattern, and the gauge is spot on with this yarn. And the Maggie vest is like a 23 stitch gauge, and this Crop Weston Tee is a 20 stitch gauge, which is also what is the gauge for this yarn. And like I said last time, I could fiddle around and make it work, but I just saw this tee and I was like, you know, I really like it, and I would like it in my wardrobe. So I decided to just go for it and use the yarn for something else than the original plans. So here I am. Oh, here we are. This is knitted bottom up, and I have not knitted anything bottom up in 12 years or something. It's so many years since I last knitted anything bottom up. And yeah, we will see how it goes. The thing about knitting bottom up stuff is that you can't try it on as you go, and so I am nervous that I'm gonna knit this either too long or too short. but yeah, I'm crossing my fingers. I saw people have knitted this on again on Instagram, and it looked good on a lot of people, and there were different lengths and they looked alright in different lengths. So, but I want it to be not super cropped, but just a little bit cropped. I don't want it to be too long, and hopefully it's gonna go fine. See it. It's such a beautiful color. I really like the color of this one. I don't know if it has called a name. It's called Burgundy, of course. Burgundy colorway. And yeah, it's just stockinette stitch. As I'm sitting here, I'm remembering I actually think I need to do short rows for the back, and I think I needed to do that right after I began knitting the stockinette stitch. I didn't do that. I just were like, oh, you know, fine, just, you know, go with the stockinette stitch. But actually I think I needed to do those short rows. I guess I'm just gonna do them now, which is gonna be fine. Just gonna look at the pattern and see what I'm gonna do with those short rows, because the back is just slightly longer than the front, and I like that. So I like that look. So I think I definitely have to do those short rows. About the yarn, again, this is a, does that say? 53% cotton, 33% viscose, and 14% linen. I love knitting this yarn. It is so comfortable, and yeah, I don't find it splitty. It's a joy to work with, and especially compared to knitting with the drop spell, which also was fine. Like, I was fine knitting with it, and I think if I hadn't knit with this afterwards, I probably wouldn't even have, like, this was not a bad knitting experience. But if I had knitted with this first and then had knitted this one afterwards, I think I would have been annoyed with the drop spell. This is definitely my favorite. It's just smooth. It does feel like it has a bit of give. I don't think it does, but it's very enjoyable to knit with. you can see it's not particularly, it's quite loosely spun. You can actually see the different threads in here. But like I said, I don't find it splitty. I'm also knitting it with these metal needles, and they aren't super pointy, and I think that's a good thing when you're knitting with this yarn probably. But yeah, highly recommend this yarn for a at least for the knitting experience. I haven't worn it, so I don't know about wearing it, but for the knitting I really enjoy it. So that's a nice little it's just nice when you are enjoying the whole experience, also the yarn. So yeah, that is it for now. I plan on like bringing this. We're going to Sweden for our summer vacation. I'm gonna bring this for Sweden, and then I'm gonna cast on for the Crosses sweater junior for Anton, and those are gonna be my summer knitting projects. I don't think I'm gonna be knitting a whole lot. I also always have high hopes and always believe, at least in the past, I've thought that in the summer holiday I would be knitting so much, but generally I always find I knit less in the summer holiday just because the kids are home, we're doing things. But I mean, the drive to Sweden is a 3-hour drive, so I can knit there and I can knit when we go back, and also hopefully in the evenings I can knit a bit. And we are also going on different little trips, so we will see how much I get done, but I'm sure that those 2 projects are more than enough for my summer holiday. I don't really think I'm gonna finish any of the 2, but that's my plan for July at least, is to work on those 2 projects, and then I will pick up on the henna v-neck afterwards, because I would like to have that done for the fall. It's like perfect fall sweater. So anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you next month. Bye.